Many of you know me as a kind of a history buff, an advocate for the protection of Sarawak heritage, perhaps the writer of a Padungan book, or the admin for the Facebook group Kuching Then and Now. I've always loved writing, whether it's articles, essays, papers, even blog postings, and countless posts on social media. But one aspect of writing that not many of you know that I like is not just the writing of prose, but the writing of poetry. I've read and have been writing poetry for many years now, and it's something that I enjoy in my spare time. My talk today, I've just called it Accessing History and Heritage via Poetry. And as the host has mentioned, I'm supposed to be a TED artist, and I was just supposed to read a couple of my poems to you. But I thought it would be a good idea for me to add a few introductory remarks about how I feel about poetry and what poetry means to me. Why poetry, you might ask? It's not exactly a mainstream area that people read nowadays. In fact, if you go to any local bookshop in Kuching and ask them for the poetry section, they'll look at you strangely, because I doubt there's any. You have to find some larger bookshops elsewhere. Why poetry? Why is poetry important at all today? Let me just read you the words of this fictitious Mr. John Keating, which was played by Robin Williams in the film Dead Poets Society, because he says it better than anybody else. We don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race. And the human race is filled with passion. Medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for. I first got hooked onto poetry a long time ago. And yes, that shaggy chap there is me in 1980. I was an undergraduate student in London, and in trying to skive and get away from doing my assignments, I chanced upon an anthology of poetry. And I still remember the exact poem that kicked off my lifelong love for poetry. The poem was called Auguries of Innocence by William Blake. And yes, I also had to look up in the dictionary what auguries mean. But ironically, the poem, which is 134 lines long, I can't remember much of it, but I remember very well the first 4 lines. And I think some of you may have even seen the first 4 lines in social media memes, or in articles, or in introduction of books and so on. Because it said this: to see the world in a grain of sand and heaven in a wildflower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. Now think of those words. In those 4 words, the poet was able to encapsulate a whole great insight into what he wanted to say. To say what he wanted to say in prose, in normal prose writing, essays, would have taken maybe a chapter to complete. I'm not going to go into the details of what he actually meant. You can easily Google it and see the meaning of what each of these lines meant. But it's really impactful. How it got me, like a thunderbolt. The power of poetry is vast, and many of us have not even understood it. Not only does it help you express your emotions well, much better than writing an essay would, it also helps improve communication skills. Because in poetry, you have to select the right words to use. In poetry, you have to make sure that your words, your verses, mean exactly what it means. There could be a metaphor, it could be an abstraction, whatever. It's important. Poetry enhances creativity and critical thinking, because the poet, in writing the poetry, has to think of these metaphors and abstractions to put into the poem, while the poetry reader has to peel back the lines of meaning in the various verses to understand what the poet was talking about. Poetry helps in mindfulness and presence in a very busy world that we have. Sometimes it's good to stop and rest a while and read a poem. And poetry has always had a connection to heritage, because the poems which are written always reflects the time and the place and the community where it was written from. In short, poetry enriches the mind and the soul, and it offers a medium for introspection, understanding yourself, connection to the world, as well as growth. Some people say, but poetry is not for me. I don't understand poetry. It's too complicated. But let me put to you, we have all, I'm sure, been exposed to poetry since a very young age. If you come from an English-speaking household, when you are young, it's likely that you have introduced to something like a book of nursery rhymes. So the usual thing, Mary had a little lamb, hickory dickory dock, and all those other rhymes, Mary, Mary, quite contrary. They are really rhymes. They are poems that you recited when you were young, or were recited to you when you were young. So you have an instinctive knowledge of what rhyming means. Or if you come from a Chinese family, I'm sure there's one little verse called Two Tigers. 两只老虎，两只老虎，跑得快，跑得快，一个没有耳朵，一个没有尾巴，真奇怪，真奇怪。That's a children's song. A lot of Chinese-speaking children know that. Or if you come from a Malay family, I believe the burung kakak tua is still a familiar favorite. The other thing to realize is that poetry is all around us in our daily lives. We may not recognize it as poetry, but it's there. Think of your favorite songs. Well, for my genre, it might be Simon and Garfunkel's The Sound of Silence. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I come to talk with you again, because visions were always sleeping, and so forth. It's a rhyme in itself. Each verse is a rhyme. Or, if you're sending greeting cards to your friends, for instance, you might get corny lyrics like, roses are red, violets are blue, happy birthday to you. Or, if you're looking at marketing jingles, for instance, the best marketing jingles, like our very own, Malaysia, truly Asia. It's a rhyme in itself. Poetry is in all cultures, whether you are from a Western culture, from a Chinese culture, from Malay culture, Indian culture, Iban culture. Poetry can be found in various forms in all these cultures. So it is part of us already. Let me now move on to the main part of my speech, my talk, which is talking about what I've been trying to do using poetry and infusing it into the reflection of history and heritage, as well as the communication of history and heritage. When you talk to young people about history and heritage, you say, read this book, read this article, read this paper, and half the time you can see their eyes glaze over, because it comes across as not so interesting, boring perhaps, old. But why not try a different form? Why not try in a poetic form? And that's what I've been trying to do for the past 7 to 8 years. Look at a certain area of history or heritage and write a poem about it and see how it goes. Today, I want to read a few of my poems, 3 specifically. The first one, Recalling Padungan in 1970s, I think is quite appropriate since today is TEDxJalan Padungan. I wrote a book on Padungan 2 years ago, and I actually incorporated that poem in it. In fact, I wrote that poem before I wrote the book because I was surveying whether there was enough for me to cover within Padungan. And in writing the poem, I found, wow, this place has lots of interesting aspects. And the second one is called Pantangs, which I'll describe later. And the third one, a short one, is called the Tambang Man. So let me read the first one first. It's recalling Padungan in the 70s. I was a teenager in the 70s. I hope there are some of you who may remember the same things I remember. And for those who are younger, you will see Padungan in a way that you've never seen it before. So the first one, Recalling Padungan in the 1970s. On Borneo, this exotic place in Fairland, Sarawak that we sing, there's a city of charm and grace, an idyllic place called Kuching. Here we find an urban zone where history and heritage and humanity. Padungan has long been known. I've loved it since a schoolboy in 1970. Let's meet at the capitals. How fun. Watch the 2:45 show, okay? I'll first have lunch at Aswan. I feel like having chicken rice today. Across at Odeon Arcade and Theatre, which is where Sheraton now is, my friend's uncle has a shop. Just to ogle at their musical gear, I never fail to make a stop. I bought my yellow chopper here in 72. The bicycle shop owner may have been a kin. My wheel served me many years through. Was it Eng Hua or Tiang Bi Hin? Padungan kopitiams were aplenty, with marble tabletop and wooden seat. Huan Lok, Sin Min Hua or Min Hon Ki, Roti Kawin, Kolomi, Laksa, what a treat. Our Lok Eatery, once next to Balai Police, its tasty curry rice a gastronomic sin. Dining at Lok Tien restaurant was bliss. One Western fare, try the Holiday Inn. Padungan is famous for its mooncakes, biscuits and other pastries too. Chin Hian Che and Wing Hyong are names surely familiar to old and new. My classmate Pips got a game at 4 p.m. To watch and cheer, we all love to go. Rugby at Song Keng High is never tame. A muddy pitch makes for an even better show. Sky Bookstore's been there for quite a bit. Unfortunately, it's closer. Just across from CPH Travel. One for buying books and your schooling kit, the other if you want to see the world. Padungan Wet Market was popular for buying your meat, fish, or veggie. Just across from the Memorial Clock Tower, that it moved, some say, was a pity. Equine hoofs thundering fast at the Sarawak Turf Club race course. The lady at the betting window asks, how much? Win or place? Which horse? Jubilee Hall still makes us smile and reflect. Wedding party or dance a memorable high. The KMC swimming pool was perfect for diving or showing off your butterfly. When the sun retires behind Matang, we return to the capital area to cheer and shout. As musicians, kokyok salesmen, and the snake abang ply their twilight trade to an attentive crowd. So that's Padungan. But Padungan has changed since the 60s, 70s, 80s. I think change is inevitable. There are socio-economic shifts. In those days, there were, in my view, 3 hubs of activity in Padungan. One end was where the cinemas were, the Capitol, the Odeon, the Li Hua cinemas that many of us frequented. At the other end was the Sarawak Turf Club race course, where every weekend or every other weekend, crowds would come, it would be jam-packed, going to watch the races. And in the middle, where the bazaar is, shopkeepers kept their shops open until 7, 8 p.m., sometimes even later. And the reason for that was because in those days, the shopkeepers lived upstairs from the shop, so they didn't need to go home after that. Nowadays, 5 p.m., all shut already. I hope there will be new businesses and new activities that come back into Padungan so that Padungan can regain some of its old vibrancy. The second poem is Pantangs. Now this is part of intangible heritage, cultural heritage, as some of you have already mentioned. Our elders always pass down to us traditions, customs, rituals, myths, superstitions, and taboos. Now it's taboos, the taboos part. In any other culture, I dare say, there will be things that parents will tell their children, do not ever do this. In our language, we call it pantangs. Taboos is pantangs. So this poem is about the pantangs that I grew up knowing about. In Sarawak, where many rivers flow, there are many pantangs we all should know. From parents and elders, they are passed along with cautions and warnings, soft and strong. Don't break a mirror, they declare. 7 years of bad luck, do beware. 100 shards, a dreadful curse. Even the non-superstitious get a bit nervous. Finish all your rice, don't leave a trace, or you'll get a spouse with a spotty face. We scrape every grain off the plate in case it impacts our matrimonial fate. Don't walk under ladders high. Bad luck may befall you as you pass by. This makes common sense, I would agree. Better skip around dodgy ladders cautiously. Don't cut your nails at night, they say, lest spirits come around your way. Nail clippings scattered on the floor could summon the unknown to your door. Pregnant mums, please don't sew. It's bad for the baby, don't you know? A tangled thread, a child in strife. This pantang is to guard the infant life. A watch or clock you mustn't gift unless you want to set a life adrift. And if you should give a wallet new, include some coins and good luck will ensue. Point at the moon and the outcome I'll tell. Your ears will be cut, they may even swell. Though I now laugh at such an unlikely fright, I never dared chance it on any night. Malay girls, don't sing while you cook your stew. Lest bad luck and single life be your due. So their kitchens are often devoid of song to keep life stable and love strong. Chinese New Year Day, though the house must wait, no sweeping through fortune's gate. Ignore the dust just for a while. Better leave the God of Fortune with a smile. Though modern folk may roll their eyes, these pantangs still underpin many local ties. Such beliefs, strange as they may be, are part of Sarawak's charm and mystery. I think I do not have time to read this one, but I may leave you, for those of you who have got an interest in poetry, with this little sampler set of engaging and inspiring poems, which I found very interesting and started me off on my journey. So to end, let me just finish with this verse. Learn history, value your heritage, stories, customs, craft, and chants. Teach your children, whatever their age, and do give poetry a chance. Thank you.